Welcome once again, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, to Mysteries from Beyond the Other Dominion. I'm your host, Dr. Franklin Ruehl, and today we're going to explore the anomaly of incorruptible cadavers, tell you about a newly discovered particle, the electrino, show you square craters, yes, I said square craters, and critique the 1944 horror flick Bluebeard, starring John Carradine and Gene Parker, and cover other intriguing subjects on this, our 16th anniversary show. But first, the anomaly of incorruptible cadavers. Now I've got to tell you something disturbing, that once a body is placed in a coffin or a tomb, even if it's completely sealed and the body's embalmed, degradation begins within 6 months, and the corpse begins to rot away. However, there are a few exceptions where bodies even hundreds of years old have been found to be perfectly preserved with no signs of deterioration. One case was that of St. Bernadette of Lourdes, who had 18 visions of the Virgin Mary. To this day, her body is in a perfect state of preservation through some unknown process. And there's also the case of the Japanese priest, Kuchihunin, who died back in 1363. Today, his body is still in a perfect state of preservation. And saintliness does not appear to be a requisite for incorruptibility of a corpse. For example, there's a case of the notorious murderous German knight, Friedrich von Kalbutz, who died in 1702. In 1850, a mortician disentombed the body and was startled to find that it had suffered no signs of decay. Indeed, his body today is on display in a museum in Neustadt, Germany. But perhaps the most extraordinary case comes from a little town down in Colombia. It's 60 miles south of Bogota, that town San Bernardo. And since the early 1960s, they have noticed that corpses no longer decay. Specifically, they've had the policy of putting many of the bodies in coffins in catacombs for 6 years. After 6 years, the bodies were removed from the coffins because of a space shortage, and then they'd take the skeletal remains and put them in what's known as an ossuary or bone depository. But back in 1965, when the caretaker opened up one of those coffins to remove the skeleton, he was startled to see that the body had not decayed. And that was a body 6 years old, so it came from 1959. And since that time, they've found that one body after another, placed in the catacombs, begins to undergo some sort of a natural mummification process, so it does not decay. They have now 19 such bodies on display there. They've created a shrine in a chapel, and 4 of the best preserved are on display. Now I should point out this seems to affect bodies of all ages, infants, teens, middle-aged individuals, and seniors. And interestingly, the cause of death is not a factor. For example, at least 2 of the victims who died were cancer patients, and one would expect that their bodies would continue to degrade after death, but they have not. That degradation process has miraculously stopped. Now, some of those individuals seem to have a death grimace, others are smiling. And remember, these are recent burials, so some people can go visit their friends and see them after death, still perfectly preserved. Now, scientists have been investigating this. One theory was that the air there is very dry, but it's actually not that dry, even though it's in Colombia. It's fairly moist, so that could not be a factor. Another idea, that there's something in the soil, but the soil in San Bernardo is no different than that anywhere else in the country. Then they thought perhaps it was the diet of the people. They eat a lot of beans, but so do the other people in Colombia. So scientists are baffled by this anomaly of the cadavers that do not corrupt. If you ever travel down to Colombia, visit that chapel in San Bernardo, 60 miles south of the capital of Bogota. A true mystery from beyond the other dominion for your consideration. Now, until next time, may the power of the cosmos and of the incorruptible cadavers be with you. Yes, yes, yes.